What's up, guys? Your boy, 20K13. Going to talk about WWE Teamwork Decision of 2015 so far. This comes from WhatCulture.com. We officially halfway through 2015, and it's been quite the eventful year for WWE. After one of the most lackluster builds in some time, WrestleMania 31 was an unquestioned commercial success, but even more importantly, a critical one for a company that was in desperate need of some goodwill. Daniel Bryan returned to a hero welcome and then was promptly shelved with yet another serious injury. While the network continued to make waves as WWE tried to entice subscribers by adding a wealth of new original programming, a bait questionable in its appeal, backed up by multiple offers of 3 months. When comparing this year to 2014, the company's momentum has trended in the opposite direction. The prior year began with a fan revolt that pushed Bryan into the main event of WrestleMania, giving us some incredible matches along the way. That pitted with the Shield tearing down the house with the Wyatt family, and a reformed evolution made for an exciting first half of the year. But WWE quickly squandered most of that by delivering a disappointing second half. This year has been the complete reversal of that, with the beginning months being uninspiring while things are kicking into high gear for the summer and beyond. This article will examine the opening 6 months of the year and pinpoint the worst decision the company has made this far. Read on for the truly head-scratching and devastating bad decision of the first half of 2015. Number 10. Breaking up Lana and Rusev. If the reports are to be believed, the entire reason that Lana was split away from Rusev is because Vince McMahon found her too hot and too blonde to be a heel, which is patiently observed. Those are actually factors that could aid in drawing heat if used properly, but apparently that's not what WWE has in mind. Rusev and Lana together were doing fairly well and was one of the more over acts on the entire roster. Lana played the Bridget Nelson to Rusev's Ivan Drago to perfection, and the two don't work nearly as well without each other. The company had designed on making her the female face of WWE, but she isn't a trained wrestler, so outside of just having her serve as a manager or an authority figure of sort, that will be a hard goal to accomplish. Lana pairing with Dolph Ziggler clearly isn't working as the two have zero chemistry together, and about Gillian Brute is actually coming out of this situation looking far more sympathetic than the writers likely intended him to. The fact of the matter is there was plenty of mileage left in the pairing, and the brain trust decided to pull the trigger on it far too soon. And now both talents are floundering. Number 9. Standing Steam Packing. It could be argued that in the week leading up to WrestleMania 31, the hottest act in the company was a man who had never appeared on WWE television prior to Survivor Series 2014, and had yet to even have a match or utter a word on screen. It seems that Vince McMahon and his creative team severely underestimated the value of WCW icon in 2015 after making him one of the focal points in the build to this year's big event. How let him fade back into the obscurity they plucked him from. No one expects any type of longevity from a Sting run at this point in his career. He on the wrong side of 50, and his best years are obviously decades behind him. But there's no reason why they couldn't have milked the excitement he brought for all it was worth until the enthusiasm eventually died out. Sting is a guy who deserves a much better send-off than what he's been given so far. And it's a shame that so much of his career was spent in TNA, where the majority of wrestling fans were oblivious to his extent. The most rumored Sting Undertaker match is reported to be on, off, and back on the table weekly at a double retirement bout for Mania 32 in Dallas. And if that's what WWE chooses to do with both men, that's perfectly fine. However, there's reason to wait until a few months before that show to start building toward it when the Stinger was on fire during what little TV time he had. Number 8. Making the Intercontinental title worthless. For years now, the secondary championship in WWE has been little more than prop, and often useless one at that. In fact, when very few exceptions holding them had done absolutely nothing to improve a wrestler's standing, usually having the opposite effect. It wasn't always that way. There was a time when the IC and US belt were two of the most coveted in the sport and even supersede their respective world titles in importance. Those days are long gone. The IC title was always known as the worker's belt, the one given to the person who was either extremely proficient in the ring or someone they were giving up for a much bigger role, serving as a test run for a stint as the world champion. Some of the greatest matches in history were held contesting that title. Now the champion is usually booked to lose repeated non-title matches and made to look like a total loser, and the fans view it as a joke. WWE has shown they have the capability to book a secondary title strong as they currently in the mind in the midst of rehabbing the US Championship with John Cena, entertaining string of open challenge defense. They need to start building the IC champ and make them equally strong. Maybe that's the plan with Ryback, but after how badly they busted Wade Barrett's championship run, the audience isn't holding its breath. Number 7. Spinning wheels with Bray Wyatt. This one is particularly frustrating because in Bray Wyatt, WWE has a performer more in tune with his character than anyone else on the entire roster, a gifted worker with some of the best promo ability in the business. Yet the astronomically large writing team can't seem to come up with decent ideas for him, and he should be one of the easiest characters to write for. Wyatt had a unique charisma that audience did, and he filmed for a babyface turn, but rather than turn him or at least reunite him with his former followers, who have themselves decided to team back up, they continue to keep him as a heel while not actually letting him do anything heelish. He has catchphrases, cool music, and awesome interests that the fans participate in. Doesn't cheat or draw heel heat yet. They expect us to boo him. Why? Even a prior WrestleMania match against The Undertaker seemed like a step backward, or at the very least a halt to what little momentum he had. And that inexplicable, Bray Wyatt should be a major star and one of the top guys in the company, and they need to stop hesitating and commit to him once and for all. Now he in the midst of a program with Roman Reigns, and it's unfathomable that he'll escape this one without looking worse off than he did going in. So once again, WWE is using Wyatt as high-end enhancement talent when he should be so much more. Number 6. Hashtag Kane ruined everything. This is not meant as an attack on Glenn Jacobs, the man, or even Kane, the character. He's been a consistently solid talent that WWE owned a lot to for his years of service, and he's easily a Hall of Famer when he decided to hang it up. It's just that far too much of WWE TV revolves around Kane, and to a slightly lesser extent Big Show when there are so many other fresher options available who could be filling those roles. Look how big of a part Kane had played in Seth Rollins' program lately. The new champ should be the focus on his angle, not in fighting with Kane over who got Hunter and Stephanie the better Christmas card. Yes, what will Kane do? Has been a common theme in Seth's title defenses. In 2015, and Kane had been a WWE character for almost 20 years. It's time for him to step aside and let someone else play the authority heavy. Titus O'Neil would have been a perfect candidate before they reformed the primetime player, and there are several other guys who could use the rub of just being in the same segment with the Levies and Rollins. Kane is not one of those people. Number 5. Killing Randy Orton face turn. When it initially happened, Randy Orton finally decided he had enough of the authority shenanigans and growing a backbone had the crowd rabid for his face turn. For a performer who often criticized for being dull, blandy, boring, anyone, there is no denying he over with the majority of the audience. So what does WWE do to capitalize on that momentum? They took him off TV to film a movie that would almost certainly lose money, killing all the excitement his rebellion created. And then when he does return, they took several backward steps creatively and put him with the authority once more, only to have him go and do the same thing all over again. Why didn't they just have him come back after weeks away and attack Ronald to a massive response, rather than telling the obvious story of the Viper, playing the long con? It was counterproductive to his push, not to mention it was the second opportunity with Orton that they squandered recently. The first being not jumping all over the RKO out of nowhere meme when it was exploding across the internet. Number 4. Burying Dean Ambrose. This one goes beyond the first half this year and really began in the latter half of 2014. But what in the world is WWE thinking with their treatment of Dean Ambrose? When you get past all the stupidity he was forced to partake in, like taking Plier to a mannequin, gentle and jobbing to ghosts and TVs, he still managed to be one of the most over guys on the roster. He began the year in much the same situation as the aforementioned Bray Wyatt, a surefire superstar who the company seemed hell-bent on missing on. He'd been devalued, depushed, shunted down the card and turned into a wrestling version of Benny Hill. When his maniac energy and fan support is more akin to that of Roddy Piper and Steve Austin than Dunk the Clown or T.L. Hopper, Ambrose is a guy who should be headlining cards for years to come, and yet every time it seems the company has realized that and taken steps to rectify, they then go right back to booking him like a jabroni. Number 3. The horrible scripting of Roman Reigns. Now that we are officially out of the everyone rebel against the Roman Reigns push phase, it's time to take an objective look at why it originally failed. Sure, there were timing issues and the fan desire to create another WrestleMania 30 revolt in favor of Daniel Bryan, but what a lot of it boiled down to was WWE took everything that made Reigns cool to begin with and stuck it out of him until he was a lousy manhunt devoid of charisma and speaking like 1950 cartoon character. Does the blame go to Vince McMahon for being out of touch? Reports were that he was very hands-on with Roman, even scripting his promo himself. That's not all that hard to believe when you consider that it's impossible to believe that anyone born after 1960 would think other than the phrase stuffing succotash and a promo would make someone look like a badass. The fans liked Reigns because he was a silent killer who backed down from no one and sneered in the face of danger. So they stripped all that away and made him the smiling, high-flying jokester who spiked coffee and cracked jacks in the beanstalk jokes. That's the reason why his push failed, and the crowd at 31 massively rooted for Brock Lesnar to leave Reigns permanently resting in Suplex City. Number 2. Taking Lesnar off TV. While we on the subject of Brock Lesnar, let's talk about what a terrible decision it was to take him off TV when they did. Everyone is fully aware that he had a unique contract that allowed him to work a very limited amount of dates at his leisure. But from everything that's been reported, those dates can be used at WWE discretion. So they chose to not have him return following the post-WrestleMania Raw, and that was a huge mistake. WrestleMania was a resounding success and Brock was a large part of that. Then the next night you have him go Then the next night you have him go ham on the entire Raw set, and F5 Michael Cole literally out of his shoes, a babyface move if ever there was one, and then he's just gone. That's not the way to capitalize on all those eyes you have watching the product who don't tune in every week. Despite the fact that he's already been bought back, allegedly ahead of schedule due to floundering ratings, much of the momentum has faded. It doesn't help that he's been booked to sell the cane like it was 1998, which arguably damaged a bit of his master aura. They can regain that trust they lost, and having him murder Kofi Kingston in Japan was a good start, but it was poor timing on WWE's part to not utilize their most expensive asset in the best way possible. And number one, bringing back Daniel Bryan for the Royal Rumble. When the beloved Daniel Bryan made his triumphant return and announced his entry in the Royal Rumble, fans were overjoyed and hopeful that the stars would align once more and their chosen warrior would get a second chance to headline the biggest show of the year. Then came the actual Rumble, and one nonchalant bump off the apron from Bray Wyatt caused an arena full of fans to erupt in extreme anger. This wasn't heel heat. This was people being legitimately angry that Bryan wasn't winning and headlining Mania, and as such, it absolutely ruined what should have been up until that point the biggest night, the biggest night in Roman Reigns' career. Now, hindsight being 2020 and all that, it's entirely possible WWE knew Daniel Bryan wasn't 100% and didn't want to risk a repeat of what happened last year. Or maybe they were just stubborn and were going with their guy no matter what. But either way, with Bryan back on the shelf, the decision to keep him out of the main event title picture was the correct one. The problem is why bring him back at all. If he was ready to come back, the smart move would have been to hold off until the Raw after WrestleMania to avoid all of his supporters losing their mind when he didn't win the Royal Rumble. It created an unnecessary tension that WWE was forced to unsuccessfully book around and made the entire road to WrestleMania a bumpy ride. But that's it, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. See you guys on the next one. Peace.